What up? This is Rama Screen, and it's time for another celeb interview. And in the anticipation of JIU Jitsu, which hits theaters and on demand and on digital November 20th, I'm here talking with the director of this new movie, Dimitri. How are you, Dimitri?
I'm good, thank you, Rama. How are you?
Good, good, good. Thank you for taking the time. So, Dimitri, in the past, you've brought us several martial art movies. You even brought back Kickboxer franchise, but Jiu-Jitsu is a mix of martial arts and science fiction. When you combine these two genres, what were some of the challenges that came with that, and how did you strike a balance between the two?
Well, I mean, I wanted to make it martial arts centric, and I also wanted to come up with a character in the antagonist that was an unbeatable foe, and so that's how we came up with Brax. And Brax, of course, you're not supposed to be able to kill him. I mean, he's won these battles for thousands of years, and so. And then I wanted to make sure that I put enough science fiction in it to sell the fact that it's science fiction, but I didn't want it to overtake um, the incredible talent that I have with a core of martial artists in the film. And so I tried to make sure that you still could really be overwhelmed by what these martial artists do on camera.
Can you talk a bit about the design for these alien fighter Brax, and who is the actor behind that?
The actor is a stuntman actor by the name of Ryan Taryn, and he doubled for Aquaman. He doubled for Thor. He's a consummate martial artist himself. He's from Australia. And in terms of the design, you know, I grew up watching The Day the Earth Stood Still on TV as a kid. And so if you look at Brax's face, it's very reminiscent to The Day the Earth Stood Still. And one of my favorite films is The First Alien. And that was designed entirely by this German designer named Geiger. And Ridley Scott directed the movie. And so if you look at my alien's body, it has an awful lot to do with that inspiration.
Hmm. This is your, correct me, this is your third collaboration with Alan Musi, correct? And
It is.
can you talk a bit about your working relationship with Alan and why he has become your go-to star?
Well, I don't think that you can make a martial arts film without an incredible martial artist at the center of it. And I think if you go all the way back to Bruce Lee, and you go back to Jackie Chan, and you go back to Jean-Claude Van Damme, and any of the films that I loved watching, now Donnie Yen, you need an incredible martial artist in order for the audience to watch. And so Alain is a 6th-degree jiu-jitsu master. He brings an awful lot of talent to that. He's 6'1". He weighs 205 pounds. He can do a front aerial, a back aerial. And you can see the kind of execution and kicks that he does on camera. So that's the reason I go to him. We have a great relationship. He's got a great energy about him. He's very positive, and he's always trying to better the last film and the last stunt that he did. So that's why.
And Oscar winner Nicolas Cage, how did you get him on board this project, and what's he like on the set of a martial art movie?
Well, you know, I was really lucky there. I mean, Nick Cage is a consummate artist. He embraces genre. He loves genre, and he brought 100% to the character. He's a consummate professional. He sat down with me and he said to me, he said, you know, how do you want to approach the story? What is it exactly that you want from my character? And then he came up with the idea of channeling Dennis Hopper in Apocalypse Now. So he brought a lot of fun to it. And he's just a joy to work with.
But was he a fast learner in terms of the fight choreographies?
Well, he's trained in jiu-jitsu. So he's had some of the best jiu-jitsu masters train him for several years. So it was very simple for him to step into the choreography. He's in great shape. He immediately went to work with the stunt guys so that he could sell the character. And he did about 80% of his own stunts.
Wow, that's incredible. I gotta ask about the most memorable highlight of this movie, the first-person point of view one-take scene in the middle of Jiu-Jitsu with Alan and Tony Jaa. Talk to me about your process of creating that sequence. What were your conversations that you had with your DP to make that happen?
Well, I start working on the stunt sequences months before,
Hmm.
and I've created a team that I love to work with out of Thailand. When I did the very first Kickboxer, it's a team of stunt guys that have worked with me there. Jim is the lead, who is the coordinator. And so they start to work out the action sequences with me months before. They'll do them in the gym, they'll cut them together, they'll send them to me, I give them notes, we go back and forth. And because I've got really wonderful martial artists at the core of this film, you know, I've got Alan Musi, I've got Juju Chan, I've got Maurice Crump, Tony Jaa, and as you mentioned, Ryan Taryn, who is Brax. There's a real core of wonderful martial artists in the film. And so with them, I want to back the camera up and I want them to continue as long as possible to pull off things that nobody's ever pulled off. And so I design long takes. And as you saw there, that's a very, very long take. And I changed points of view in it because I remember watching as a kid this movie with Clint Eastwood called Every Which Way But Loose. And I think his sidekick was a monkey, right? And for the first time, I saw him punch the camera, and I thought, well, that's kind of cool, you know. So I thought it would be kind of cool to do that, especially now when everybody's playing video games. And hopefully, when you're about a minute into the sequence, you notice that this is not a video game, and you see real live characters doing this, not computer generated characters. And so I think some of the sequences that we have in there are second to none. The camera work, we had to hand the camera off, I think about 4 or 5 times in order to follow the action. So, and then ultimately, when he's jumping over roofs and stuff, I had to hand the camera off to our stunt coordinator because he was the only one brave enough to attach himself to a crane and hang on to a 40-pound camera and start leaping off roofs with it. So hopefully it was an enjoyable sequence.
Man, that sounds so elaborate, and it really shows on the screen. So, congrats on that. I want to commend you for the way you shoot your fight sequences. I grew up in Asia watching a ton of martial art films. And so when I see some of the way Hollywood often shoots and edits their fight scenes, it frustrates me because they often cut and stitch and close up too much, so dizzying, instead of just simply pulling the camera back and letting the whole frame capture the fight. I guess my question to you is, what are some of the methods of shooting fight sequences that most other filmmakers today don't seem to understand or can't seem to get right? And why is that?
Well, again, I'm a big fan. First of all, I'm a martial artist. I'm a two-time black belt in my 20s. And if you take a look at a movie that Donnie Yen made called IP Man, okay, and you take a look at the first IP Man, the Chinese are impeccable at just backing the camera up and showing the immense talent of these martial artists, okay? When you have that, I think most directors end up with a lot of actors that they need to double, and they can't really do that, you know. Again, I'm blessed with the fact that I end up with a lot of talented martial artists, so I pull the camera back as well, and I just follow them, and I try to let you see their talent as opposed to me interjecting and cutting and getting all shaky camera and all that kind of stuff. So that's my influence. And again, I'm a big follower of the Hong Kong Chinese martial arts films, which really show some incredibly talented martial artists. So that's where my influence comes from.
Oh, and thank you for that. And finally, what is the status update on the third Kickboxer installment, Kickboxer Armageddon? And will you guys be able to shoot the film during this pandemic?
Well, the pandemic has posed an awful lot of challenges to filmmakers, but we're doing it. I think life has to go on. I'm very, very safe. I'm preparing a film right now called Man of War that I'm going to start shooting in January. But Kickboxer Armageddon is slated for 2021. I wrote the script already. I was just waiting for the first two kickboxers to sort of proliferate throughout the world. And now it looks like, I'm told, that we're getting a resurgence. It looks like the audiences are starting to watch them over and over and over again. And certainly with Retaliation has really hit some very great milestones in terms of reviews from both the audiences and the critics. So if you like that film, you're really going to love the kind of adrenaline that I'm going to pump into Kickboxer Armageddon. So that's 2021.
All right, I can't wait. For my fans at home, everybody go check out JIU JITSU in theaters and on demand and on digital November 20th. Dimitri, thank you for talking to me, and congratulations, sir.
And thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it and your support.